South Carolina cops, they pull up, man, in a mental health crisis. They just start shooting. Here it is.
He's in it. Let me see your hands. Hands. Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. Okay, we got shots fired. Alpha! Bravo! Hey, give it, just help him.
They did this in front of the mother. The mother. Put up the picture full mass. This is a hell of a story. South Carolina cops immediately fired, as you just saw. Trevor Mullinax, a South Carolina man who survived being shot 9 times. He's not in great condition, but he survived. Was shot 9 times. A sheriff's deputies alleges in a newly filed lawsuit that he was sitting in his pickup truck and talking to his mother when the officers descended on them like cowboys from a John Wayne movie. Deputies were responding to a wellness check. This was a call requested by a friend or a family member of Trevor. Trevor and his mother said in their lawsuit that the deputies drew their weapons and defaulted to using deadly force immediately without attempting to de-escalate the situation. Body cam video obtained by NBC News shows the deputies with their guns out, converging on the pickup and yelling, "Let me see your hands," before opening fire, while the mother, Tammy Beeson, is still standing beside the truck and talking to her son through the driver's side window, which means what? She could have easily been shot herself. It's called reckless endangerment. It's the crime. Let's put up these hospital pictures. See, this should not have happened. The deputies fired 50 times at close range, nearly 2 years after the May 7, 2021 incident. The mother and son are suing York County and the Department of Unspecified Damages. Ms. Beeson, who was not struck by gunfire, luckily, says seeing her son get shot has shaken her faith in the police. Ma'am, you should have zero faith in the police. None. Hold them all accountable. Dispatchers were provided the cell phone numbers of both Mullinax and his mother. But instead of calling them, a team of deputies arrived on the property where the grandfather then directed them to the back where his grandson was parked and talking to his mother. Once they got there, video shows them firing immediately before ever making verbal contact. Lawyer Justin Banberg said Tuesday at a news conference, there was a round that hit him smack dab in the middle of the back of his head. He added, never seen anybody get shot in the back of the head who's a threat to law enforcement or anybody else. He also detailed how the victim was in a really dark place and having suicidal thoughts. He continues, several days before he was shot, Mullinax had issues with his girlfriend and kicked in the door of her home, he said. It led him to being charged with burglary. He didn't steal anything, Banberg said. Then when the deputies arrived, Mullinax had a shotgun in the truck, but at no point did he point the weapon at himself or any other person. The charges, the complaint states, were lodged to provide cover for the utter excessive use of deadly force exhibited by the sheriff deputies. There is no evidence Trevor Mullinax or his mother committed a crime or attempted to hinder any officer on the scene, interfere, or resist arrest, the complaint states. To the contrary, all available evidence indicate that the plaintiff was attempting to be compliant during the extremely short window of time immediately following the arrival of the officers. You have a personal failure, you have a cultural failure, you have a policy failure. The personal failure are the heartless individuals who wear a badge and have a gun. That's your personal failure. Those individuals are psychopaths and should not have access to that level of trust. Number two, you have a system failure basically, all right, inside of the culture of policing. This was a wellness check. Why are they doing the wellness check? Obviously, they have no idea what they're doing. They didn't even make contact via phone call, as is a recommended protocol in situations like that. It is a non-emergency in the sense of a violent crime is happening. This is able to be resolved without anyone dying. Without anyone dying. And how do we correct the reality of cause and effect? Because if 911 was understood in the context that it should be, which is public safety and not policing, somebody on the other side should have access to wrap around services that don't have guns. 911 does not mean I need a cop. It just means I have an emergency and I need my tax dollars to work for me right now. All right, Ben, this is a sad story. Thoughts?
Yeah, like, so first and foremost, I guess I'll touch on the notion of like police officers responding this way to hear that somebody's having like a mental health struggle, right? Unfortunately, our society, like, look, there's a lot of people in our society who view mental illness and like having like particular like flare-ups or breakdowns or whatever as proving that somebody's like undeserving of being alive. Like, let's be real. This is literally like what, not even a week after the story, somebody having a mental breakdown on a train and literally just getting like straight up killed on that train by some random like vigilante. So there's tons of people defending that guy still. And so like fundamentally, there's a lot of people who do think that the appropriate response to people having any type of mental illness is literally a death sentence. And that just speaks to like the like baseline cultural problem that exists within the United States and the disrespect that we have for just like people with mental illnesses and just the fundamental level of dehumanization that happens here. The fact that the police share that mentality, it seems, across the country is deeply infuriating. Yep. And then obviously you have the response from the police officers. Why'd they think this was appropriate, right? Like, what is going on in their heads? Like, literally, and then there's the layer of, why was it a police officer, right? Why is it only police officers that get to respond to things like this? Why don't we have people that aren't police officers responding to things like this? Because realistically, a police officer should be the last resort, right? A man with a gun should be the absolute last resort in any situation, right? Even if you dial 911, it should be, is there an ongoing, violent, threatening situation happening in this moment that requires somebody with a gun, right, to create some sort of balance here so that people hopefully don't get hurt? If that is not the situation, then a police officer is not the appropriate responder. And the last thing I'll say, there were like what, 2 squad cars and like 4 cops at least or something that I saw there. Like, I don't want to hear a single person, period, stop, tell me that police officers need a higher budget. Like, I'm sorry, you don't. There's not a single police department across the entire United States of America that needs a higher budget. Because when you see police officers spending so much time, so many police officers can respond to one person, right? Like this, they must have some free time on their hands.
Right, and but for factor. The only reason this man is shot is because the police came. Only reason he's in the hospital fighting for his life is because the police came. All right, we're gonna follow the story as it develops.